What up? It's not Uncle Dada, but it's Mr. Qualified, and this is another episode of the Just Checking In podcast. My God, you got the bus down today, don't you?
Screaming. Yeah, I needed to switch it up. So voila. Yeah. Shout out to my sister for doing it.
Lord, how far does it go to now? Is it past your chest?
Not quite. It's mid chest. My measurement right now is the nipple. Once I get past that, I know like my hair is long, but I'm pretty close. It's damn near down my chest.
So the other side is just longer because of how the hair is styled currently at the moment.
No,
Oh,
it's
okay.
more full because the rest
Gotcha.
is hot. So, I just didn't want to Will Smith this shit and have my ears out. So I just got a little whoomp right here.
Will Smith and this shit is crazy. You don't have Will Smith ears though.
I don't, but if I tuck my hair behind my ears, all you see is like ear.
That's
So it would be different if I just had a fade, right? Because it would just be that. But you have something behind here, and it's just like, oh wow, you have
have
ears.
ears. No, I do get that. It's a hair thing. It's a hair thing for
It's a
sure.
hair.
But man, checking in. It's actually been a week in between recording this time. So I think there's actually some things to catch up on. But yeah, man, how has your last week been?
It was decent. I don't remember much of it for real to figure out like what I did do. Oh, I caught a case of the zoomies at work, and I had scratched off everything on my to-do list for that day, and it was a long to-do list. Matter of fact, it's right here. It's the office. But like all of these scratch outs, if you can see, I did
Sheesh.
all of that in the day. I was just like boom, 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 boom. So yeah, I did that. I hung up the rest of the stuff in here, so you see I now have a finished shoe closet. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I was mad productive this week. I feel like if you say something, I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, I remember something else happened, but I'm
I mean,
chilling.
first off, that's a lot of stuff to knock off in one day, and that's all like professional work related.
Yes.
That's kudos to you. I ain't reached that point yet in my life, but one day
Well, I hadn't been till Wednesday.
we will get there. Two, I just realized how common it is for black people to have one room in their house that is a multi-purpose room and can at any point in time service multiple things, if not multiple things at the same time. And that is the room you are currently in. This is your office, shoe closet, and second, technically, guest bedroom. But you
And workout area. So I mean, I'm not gonna turn the camera around and show the people, but where I am on this side of the bedroom is my office. And then the other wall that y'all see is my shoe closet where the hats are. And in the middle, parting like the Red Sea, is my yoga mat where I work out, and I got a full length mirror where I look at myself because why not?
Yeah, I Callie took up what would have been my multi-purpose room. That is Callie's room. So yeah, I don't have a multi-purpose room. That definitely would have been my closet though. That entire room
I could see
is
that
my
being your
closet.
closet. I could definitely see that being your closet. But
I really
now, dog,
yeah, I really hate that I missed out on
in
that.
prison.
Yo, okay, it's not Callie do not be in prison, but the thing is, she just can't.
Go ahead, fix your lips to lie before God and these people on the
You
internet.
I have to be very selective about how I let her out because she be doing a lot. If y'all don't know Callie, she's 80 pounds of fun. Very beautiful dog, very cute dog, has all the energy in the world. But for that reason, sometimes she just needs to be restricted just a little bit. Okay. I don't think the rules are that strict, but Donald swears up and down she got a straight jacket on and she might as well be in prison or mental asylum. You let him tell.
It's very much prison break. Every time I'm over there, every time I drive by, every time I'm on FaceTime with you, I'm like, oh, where's Callie? Oh, she's in the room with the door closed. Like, you don't let her out. Even when I would pull up on you and she would look out her window, like, what is company coming? Oh, I can't play with them.
Dang, I might have missed. I think I missed it. She turned 5 last week.
Not you might have missed it.
I might have missed it. I
She
didn't
was
like technically celebrate it.
locked up on her birthday.
She was not. But yeah, no, she turned 5 this year.
specifically last week.
specifically last week.
Well, you heard it here, folks. He's a deadbeat.
ah,
You didn't even get her a little puppy cookie or something?
Not yet, but now I got to do it today.
Not
What's
yet.
crazy is I had a sick rebuttal to, to the deadbeat comment.
I'm
but
scared.
I, I was
Towards
like,
me?
let me. I was like, not no, not about you.
Oh,
It was about
okay.
me. You have context to it, but the way it would have came off, it just would have been like, whoa. I feel like viewers would have been like, do we need to talk, Qualls? Do we need to have a therapy session?
See what happened when you take off that beanie and put on the do-rag? You come a whole nother person.
You know what? Just like you have different hairstyles, I feel like depending on which hat or which like head covering thing I have on,
Mhm.
different type of person. But
New
yeah,
wig, new you.
absolutely. But yeah, my week, I ain't gonna lie. First 2 weeks of April have been crazy just because they've been busy. Like I wouldn't say anything wild has happened. But I've worked the past 2 Saturdays, which is not typical. But when we have programs, like I'm usually good for one Saturday a month for one of the programs that we have at work. But we had that program and then another like different outreach program. So back to back Saturdays, back to back like full day ish Saturdays as well. So while I would get a day off during the week, it's just still kind of throwing off that rhythm of having like the weekend to really settle in and chill. So that's kind of been it. Like in April continues to be busy. So that's kind of been what's going on. But overall, I mean, the week has been it's been cool for the most part. I know you got a call from me this week, and I feel like that was low key like the highlight for me. But like I said in the call, it was just funny being in that space where I don't I don't think you can call it outgrowing friends. I just think it's interesting navigating friends and people that you have genuine bonds with in transition because as we all know, every decision you make is not gonna necessarily make sense or go over well or fly, if you will, with other people. And not that that is supposed to matter, but like I said, when it's people that you care about, I think that just makes for some really difficult conversations. But other than that, it was a solid week though. I can't say it was bad. Definitely still feel like I'm making progress. So
The beauty of that is difficult conversations are often healthy conversations. I mean,
I
if
agree.
that the right way. So yeah, you might not want to have those breakdowns in communication and like thought process or whatever, but on the other side of that, the repair conversation of what you had as a follow-up, everybody understands each other a little better.
Yeah. Do you feel like you've struggled with outgrowing friendships before?
That I have outgrown friendships, or I think the people have outgrown me. I guess that's the same thing, huh?
No, it's flipped. I get what you're saying, but both. Whether you felt like you outgrew somebody, or whether you started to feel like, dang, maybe somebody moved on from me or outgrew where our friendship was in some capacity.
Yeah, both in a positive and negative way. I think like people that you grow up with, from like childhood, I'm still tight with my group. I call them my wolf pack. Um, but yeah, we've all been tight since kindergarten, first grade, and the last one in seventh, and then have been very, very tight as siblings as adults. But that's not always the case. So like people that you grew up with, like, oh, I was best friends with so and so this time, and then like you went to different schools or y'all got in different neighborhoods, or somehow you just start to naturally grow apart. Like that's not a bad thing because sometimes even close friendships are just friendships out of proximity. But yeah, I can think of a negative time where I've outgrown somebody. We won't get into the details, but yeah, it happens because as I evolve, I would expect other people to evolve as well. And sometimes we just not are not always in the same circle of evolution, I guess. So we'll just do a little fork in the road and no love lost, but it happens.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think sometimes the situation can be that one side is evolving while the other is not. So one side is growing or one side is just experiencing more and the other might be in a bit of a constant. And that sometimes can create a ridge because it just gets weird. Like I don't know. I mean, I've experienced both as well. And I guess in situations where I felt like because I also think there's a difference in outgrowing a relationship and a relationship just genuinely changing. Like it's not so much y'all outgrew each other, but the dynamic just changed and it just more so didn't become the same base of a friendship that there once was. So I think those are two different things. But I'll say when it's come to outgrowing people, uh that's always been interesting because I've always been really confused by that. I've always been really thrown off by why my growth or my elevation would make you feel differently about our friendship if I'm not treating it differently. But I feel like that's where I learned that other people, I can't control how other people kind of see things. So if they have a
Right.
feeling about what you're doing, whether that be because they aren't doing what they want to do, or whether that be because they just feel like you do this very well and they don't, and that's all they focus on. I've always found that kind of weird, but I have experienced that. So I don't know. It sucks. And I hate losing. I mean, I hate losing friendships in general, but like I hate losing friendships where we have been tight for a really long time or we have been cool for a long time. And I thought there was a genuine bond there, but as much as I can, understand that life changes things, I don't know. I just feel like with friendships, it's all about whether you want to put in the energy to maintain it and put in the energy to fix it when necessary. And sometimes seeing people make the choice not to do that or show that they're not willing to do that, I think that's what hurts the most outside of just whatever comes with the outgrowing aspect of it.
Yeah, because it's a grief that I don't think we talk about a whole lot because like you think of grief as loss as somebody and died, which I mean that happens, yes. But then like say you in a relationship and like y'all break up, now it's just like, oh wow, like I'm heartbroken. That's grief. But I think friendships, at least I can speak for myself, a lot of my friendships are either longer lasting in time or sometimes even more intimate than like partnerships that I've
Yeah.
had.
Yeah.
And some of that is just based on like the length of time, right? So if you fall out with a friend in that level, or if y'all happen to like grow apart in some way, you don't really know how to deal with it because you feel like you done lost something. Like, oh, I lost my best friend or I miss my best friend. When you start using language like that, it's just like you still have to leave space to grieve the loss of them.
Hmm.
But like you said, sometimes y'all just grow apart and you might not be treating the friendship differently, but they are perceiving you to be different in some way. Maybe because you didn't got your stuff together, or maybe because you are growing and excelling in a rate that's faster than them. Maybe it's a little envy somewhere in there. Like it's a whole lot of factors, and not all of them have to be bad, but there's still a level of grief um in those like distant relationships that you gotta have to figure out because you're like, well, I'm friends with this person. Like, why am I sad? Like, this is not my family, this is not my partner, but your friends, at least mine, I like this. I don't keep duds around me. Like, stay
Yeah.
away.
I'm with Nah, you made a really interesting point though in terms of how like sometimes that friendship has a deeper intimacy than some like romantic relationships. Very odd question, and I don't think that you can do this. I'm just curious your thoughts. Do you think it's possible to rank the type of griefs? And I use rank very loosely. I guess I'm just more so asking how where do you feel like they fall in terms of what has been more difficult for you, maybe at least to make it more specific, the grief to deal with in terms of if you grieve losing a best friend versus grieving losing a partner versus grieving losing a family member. And obviously, like you said, I'm not trying to make it a compare thing from like actual death to like loss of life to loss of a relationship, but just the idea that grief has this spectrum. I guess how have you come to learn how to place grief in different boxes for you, if that helps kind of bring in the question.
I mean, yeah, that's a good question. I don't really know how to answer that. I don't know that these are the right categories, but I guess the things that come to mind for me is like natural grief. If I know I have an older relative that has been sick, like they're going to pass at some point, right? It still hurts, but like I'm kind of prepared for it. So it's natural grief. That's the unexpected grief of something being sudden, which usually is death. I don't think breakups and bad friendships are sudden, because if they are, then somebody was missing something.
Yeah.
Um, and then the ones I don't even know what to call it, but the ones with the loss of friends, I think that almost hurts the most because it feels sometimes planned or it leads up to something, but also I'm a communicative person. Like talk it out. If we got issues, talk it out. Don't just be like, oh, I can't do this anymore. We're not gonna be friends. Like, what? I also think the concept of friends is strange as hell. Like you meet a stranger one day and they never leave your life. What the hell? Like I didn't know you one day and we like thick as thieves. So what? How does this even happen? Just some random person you meet on the street is now your best friend. Some random person you meet at a bar now is your husband, your wife, your concept of friends. I mean, I'm happy that I have them, but I also think friends are just strange as hell. These are strangers that never leave.
That is an extremely interesting way to put it. And I wouldn't even call it a counter, but to the point of them being strangers at one point that never leave, isn't that crazy how just think of the different levels of strangers, right? Like if you already got one stranger that's been there longer and stayed, right? And then a new stranger comes into play, but in some ways that new stranger more quickly shows how they care for you, how much you mean to them, like the lengths they're willing to go for you. I think that just kind of adds to the the weird concept because once you get past the stranger part, it's like once you start kind of dissecting like how these strangers become a part of your life and then how quickly some do and then also how quickly some can fall out. It is it feels like something that we don't think about that much. Maybe you do, since you brought up the point. But I never thought about it in that way. We're like, yeah, these just strangers kind of passing through. You know, some will stay, some will leave. You know,
Yeah. And like your close ones, they obviously stay for a long time. So you meet somebody like back outside dating. You meet strangers and you're like, hypothetically, this person could be the one and I'm with for the rest of my life. What the, I'm not gonna curse, but like what? Like this is such a crazy concept. So to your original point of losing friendships, how are we losing friendships? And we built this whole little deal, over 3 years, 5 years. Some of my friendships are 24, 5 years long. It's like, how are we falling out over that? What happened that was just so egregious that was just like, you know what? I'm good on you. I've been there. But like, how does it get to that point? I just don't understand because if y'all are friends, why y'all not talking?
and I think that's the part of it too. I think with friendships, that grief feels avoidable. That grief feels like we could have got to this before it got to this point. So if we did not, now I'm a bit confused because I'm like, well, how exactly did you get to this point without communicating certain things to me? Like,
Hmm?
do I not have the benefit of the doubt to explain something that you may have felt a way about, or to be given the chance to rectify something if you felt like I did something wrong or handled something wrong or disrespected you, whatever the case may be. So, and I won't say I've been directly in that space, but I've been in a space where there's been a change of I guess view of the friendship and me just kind of being confused as to how that happened without communication, but also learning like some people just if they aren't those type of people, sometimes the friendship doesn't change that. Like if they aren't communicative people, if they aren't people that are relatively open or like vulnerable in that capacity, sometimes you think like, oh, well, we're friends, like they'll do it with me, but that's not the case, and that may not be a you thing as the friend that you don't have to take that personal, but it's kind of hard not to because it just feels like, well, why wouldn't you? If this is the friendship we have, if we are these type of friends, why wouldn't we be able to have that simple conversation? Even if you stand where you stand, like even if you have made a decision for whatever reason,
Yeah.
at the bare minimum, just express that that's where you at. So at least I can, if I'm gonna be confused, at least I can't say, well, he didn't tell me, or they didn't tell me, she didn't tell me, whatever the case may be. So yeah, yeah, no, no, friendships are weird.
Yeah, and they're like puzzle pieces too. Relationships in general, but I feel like I like puzzles. Friendships are like puzzles. They're just warm and fuzzy, right? Or should feel good at some point, but you have your bumps in the road. I mean, we ain't never argued, we ain't never fell out, but we did, have a little like, record scratch. Well, like
Record,
like a
record
year
scratch is a good way to put it.
ago, he was just like, yeah, I feel like, you did this, do, and I was just like, okay, I hear you. That was not it at all, and we just hadn't talked about it, but literally that one very short conversation at like 5 in the morning. I was like, you really want to talk about this right now? Like for real. But that was it. And
Yeah,
you wake up the next day and you keep it pushing, but we talk and then you understand and you move forward. So
yeah. And I know, like, even for me in that moment, it felt weird not having a conversation. And I'm very much a person that, like, well, if we here and it's on my mind, whatever time. I mean, might as well do it now. I don't really want to sleep on it another night if we don't have to. You know what I'm saying? But that's me caring about the relationship as well. So it is and I guess that's why, honestly, I would say that's why I feel like our friendship and our relationship is one that means as much as it does to me and it holds the most value, because I feel like even in a lot of our disagreements, we haven't always gotten to a point where there had to be this conversation at 5 in the morning because it hadn't been had for, a couple months. Like usually, also granted, you're in Chicago now. So it ain't like I can drive 5 minutes to your house, if I wanted to. But
hello, we got problems.
right. But no, before it was, I think every disagreement, if that's even what you want to call it, just became a conversation because we were right there. And for me, it never made sense for it not to be a conversation. It never
Mhm.
made sense for me not to be like, well, let me make sure that I'm understanding this, or let me make sure I hear him explain what this is before I just get to assuming and thinking because, oh, we friends, or oh, this and that this is what's supposed to happen, or this is the only thing he could have, meant, type of deal. So I mean, I guess a part of that is the maturity too, but
Yeah.
only can control yourself, for real. For real. There was another friend question. Have you ever had to be the one to fix a friendship? Or I guess rectify it. I don't know if that's the right word in that context, but
A friendship. Have I had to fix a friendship that I was a part of or
yes,
as a bystander?
that you were part of.
That yeah, I guess. I yes, I hesitantly say yes because I feel like I just assume that role anyway as I'm a fixer, like I'm a solution driven person. So if I see things falling apart, I'm like, okay, let me not do anything to make sure I ain't tripping. Like am I just, doing the most and seeing something that's not there? But once I see that there are issues, I'm probably gonna be the one to address it. Cause like if I want to know something, I'm gonna ask. If I want to say something, I'm gonna say it. Like the great Kiki Palmer once said, just say what you're saying. And that's what if it's on my mind, it's gonna come out my mouth. So in that regard, yeah, maybe because I start the conversations, but I don't know that I've had to be in those situations often enough to like actually say, yeah, I'm the one fixing it.
Mm.
I try to live a problem-free life.
No, that's real. I definitely feel that. I think I've only genuinely felt that way once. I've genuinely only been in that position once.
That
Um,
you had to fix.
Yes, or where I was made aware that I needed to be, essentially I was just made aware that I need to be doing more as a friend, right? So like
Okay.
and this particular person like is my actual best friend. You've met her, But there was a time where she's always been like that person and that best friend for me, just in regards to if I need to call her, ask her anything, run anything by her. Like she was there. And it was never so much that I was not there, but when she was going through something that was difficult, she needed more from me as a best friend. And she held me to that standard because she knew I could. She knew I could challenge her on certain things that maybe I
Mhm.
didn't. She knew I could poke at certain things that I wasn't. Not that she ever assumed I didn't care, but
Right.
just knowing what she, gives me, she knows I can, reciprocate that for her, and I wasn't doing that. And I think that was actually one of the few times where I feel like I was kind of like I took a step back and I'm like, okay, how am I being intentional about being a friend, especially if this is somebody that I consider a best friend. And since then, I just feel like I've been more intentional about making sure that I don't take for granted, like, oh yeah, we just gonna talk and we gonna have our problems and we gonna share them and we gonna go about our business. Like, no, sometimes things really do be tough. And sometimes, like, even in us explaining or expressing how we feel about something, it's not that we are intentionally leaving something out of the picture, but
Mhm.
there's usually a lot more layers to things. And I think it is the role or the job of the friend or best friend to kind of be like, I mean, you've done this, with me as well. But it's like, okay, this is what you're saying, but how you really feel. Like where are you really at? Like that was a great press answer. But now let's get to the actual answer. So yeah, I think I've been in that situation just once. But
Are you? Because I think a good friend sees you, a good friend supports you, a good friend sees your potential, and a good friend challenges you to like get to that potential. But do you feel that you are a good friend to your friends?
I
I
do
guess
feel like, yeah.
scale
Okay.
of 1 to 10, because you could say, yeah, I'm a good friend, but like you could be bare minimum. I don't think you are, but like scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best friend ever. Like how good of a friend do you feel like you are?
A 7. I'm a 7 because I am aware that I can be a better friend, but also the grace of it's not that I can be a better friend because I'm terrible. It's just that you can always improve and show up better for whoever the friend is, because that showing up may look different depending on who the person is. So I would say a 7 now with an intentional goal to get to like a 9, a 10. I think before I never really thought about how can I be the best friend that I can be or the best friend that I can be. I never looked at it that way, but now I think I'm just more intentional about that. Where would you rank yourself?
7 as well. So look, we're brothers. We're happy. No,
We are kind
um,
of these. This is kind of the same color, a little bit,
no,
same
I thought
a
that
bit
as
black.
soon as you got it on the camera, I was like, oh, okay,
Wait, is that blue or green?
this is blue.
Okay, okay,
I
same,
guess
same page.
teal. I don't know. I didn't like paint match it, but like it's a shade of blue. But no, I would say 7 for the same reason. I think I have some really good friends. I have some amazing friends, and they remind me and show me how to be a better friend because they do things that I wouldn't have thought of. Like in my head, I still would, but in practice, I guess I did not. So I would say coming off of my 20s, I was in a solid 7, and I'm more aware and leaning towards 8 because I feel like I've lessened some of my friendships and like strengthened some of the ties that I have within that circle. But you said you're aspiring to be like a 9 or 10. I want to cap out at 9. I want to be 10. 10,
Interesting.
10. Yeah, 10 means that, like, well, one, I don't think anything is perfect, but friendships grow and evolve. And like I said, they're puzzles, they're just, warm and fuzzy puzzles. If it's 10, then we've capped out and reached our ceiling. So we probably will start to grow apart. Like I want to be a good friend to you, but you also have to show me how to do that continually. So let me cap out at 9 and keep trying. 10 is just like, oh, this is the end of our friendship.
Now that's the end of the road. Well,
So
that
we've come.
no, that's a great point though. That's a great point. I get that because I do think friendships can max out. Um, I think it's an interesting concept as to how they can, especially if y'all are being like almost too good of friends to each other. But I guess that also just comes to, I mean, that would go into a deeper conversation of like what makes a good friend. But
Me.
nonetheless, nonetheless, not going a whole me,
Uh-huh.
not not going down that rabbit hole. But I got a couple would you rather questions to wrap up the episode if you're game for them.
I have no idea what is in your mind, but I'm up for anything. Let's go.
Okay. Would you rather move to a new city or town every week or never be able to leave the city or town you were born in?
like ever be able to leave.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with it. Just stay put. I'm also from Chicago, so if I never left Chicago, I think it's a beautiful place. But I need the stability. I can't be up and out every week, 2 weeks, or whatever. That would stress me out. So yeah, let me kick it on the lakefront. Hell,
uh
what would you do?
okay. Definitely Newtown every week. I'd had to figure out how to be a minimalist. Or I just had to have something
Well,
set
we
up.
know you get rid of the dog. You lock her ass up anyway. So
That was such an uncalled for stray. Uh, would you rather be completely insane and know that you are insane, or completely insane and believe you are sane?
the last one is half the damn world. I,
The Luluville.
right. Even though I said a few episodes ago, be a little delusional. I think society has taken that and was like, we gonna do this. Um, no, let me be insane and know that I'm insane. I don't. Yeah, I'm gonna contradict my last advice from some episodes ago and just I don't want to be out there like that losing and. Mm-mm.
Okay, last one. Would you rather have whatever you are thinking to appear above your head for everyone to see, or have absolutely everything you do live streamed for everyone to see or anyone to see?
Ooh, you know, I will be on somebody's reality TV show. So I kind of want to go with that, but people knows these hell. So I might have to go with the thought bubble. I look up anyway when I talk because I see my words. So if everybody else could see my words and I could just be like, hey, just I might offend some people, but you can see what I'm thinking. And that's it.
Yeah, I'm definitely going with thinking too. I'd much rather you know my thoughts than to catch me in my moments of solitude doing God knows what. That's just supposed to be for me and God eyes on me. Because at a
I
certain point, judgment is going to come into play, and I'd much rather you judge my thoughts than judge my actions.
yeah, let's go with that one because we don't. I've lived by myself far too long to I do weird stuff. So the fact that like other people in the house and be like see me, they'd be like, "What
I'm thinking about some of the things I've seen that I know other people haven't seen.
of
And
me?"
yeah.
Yeah, no, no cameras allowed. It's okay. Just catch me on CBS in 2 years. Like,
Oh, oh, good Jesus. No, this was a good one, man. I enjoyed it. Good talk about friends and whatnot and carrying on. It was good.
absolutely.
Hope everybody, I hope y'all have good friendships. If y'all don't have good friendships, I hope y'all are going to fix those friendships. Also be open to create new ones. Everybody was strangers at one point anyway, so it don't matter. Go meet somebody new. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But until the next episode, until the next time we check in, catch y'all next week. Peace.